All right, hello everyone. This is the course syllabus and introduction for EXS 4419 Principles of Sports Conditioning, Spring 2021. So what we're going to really do in this particular class is getting into strength and conditioning, right? If you want to work with athletes, you're going to go beyond a little bit more than the general fitness categories. So we're going to dive into that using a particular textbook, which is kind of the gold standard for strength and conditioning, which is put out by the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Okay, so we'll get into more of the particulars here in just a moment. Let me just quickly give you an introduction of myself. This is me, Mike Jett. I'm not a PhD. I have a master's in science and exercise physiology. So I'm not a doctor. You can just call me Professor Jett, Mr. Jett, or just Jett. Whichever one you prefer is completely fine with me. I do have the NSCA CSCS. So if you're interested in, going from this class into working with athletes from a strength and conditioning perspective, you absolutely want to try to get the CSCS certification. This stands for Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. That's generally thought to be the most well-respected certification in the entire field of fitness, not just in strength and conditioning, but even if you want to work with regular people in a fitness setting, the CSCS is generally considered to be the top certification. Okay. I also have a certification from the American College of Sports Medicine, the Certified Exercise Physiologist, and I'm also Precision Nutrition certified as well. Okay. So that's me. Just a quick background in case you haven't had me before, although at this point I'm guessing you probably have. But I've worked in higher education for over a decade. I work currently at the University of Louisville in Kentucky, but I've also have a lot of experience practically in the field. So I was a part-time college professor for a long time, and during those years, I was a personal trainer, basically full-time. I worked in sport conditioning at a private business for a long time as well. I was assistant coach for track and cross-country teams at a local high school for 4 years. And then I eventually opened my own fitness business, which I ran for about 5 years as well. Before now kind of pulling back on most of that and basically just working as a teacher almost exclusively now, although I do still do some personal training and other projects with the American College of Sports Medicine as well. So I have a lot of practical experience. If you have any questions about your future going into the field, you just want to get somebody's take on it who's been in the field for a long time, please use me as a resource and just reach out through email or ask questions if you should have any. Okay, I just noticed that I don't have my email on the syllabus, which is a big mistake. So I'm going to edit that right now, and I'll make sure I save this on the syllabus that you all have access to. That was an error. I'm going to put my U of L email, my Louisville email on here because I will check this one much more frequently. So if you please use this one if you can. You can also send me messages on Schoology. I'll get those very rapidly as well. I do have a Central State email address, but I would prefer to consolidate all my communication with students in both universities into one email. So use this U of L email address if you don't mind there. I put my cell phone number on here, so if you have a really quick question that needs to be answered urgently, send me a text message. Just make sure you identify who you are, and I'll be happy to answer that question for you. Okay. I don't have an office because I live in Kentucky, so that is an issue. So I'm very much using a distance education format to teach this course for you all. We can set up a virtual office appointment if you would like. I have no problem doing that at all. We can do a Zoom appointment to have a little face-to-face interaction if you find that you need that, and that's totally fine with me because I want to have face-to-face communication with you as well. Okay, so moving on. This is the required textbook for this course. Now I say required but it's kind of up to you to buy it, right? I'm going to provide all the PowerPoints, and you should be able to get most of the information you need for the exams from the PowerPoints, but there's always going to be a depth of information that I will not provide in the lectures that you will get from the textbook, okay? I'll also say this is an excellent resource to have. So if you want to have like a book on your bookshelf that you'll use for years down the road in this field, this is one of those books. So you will not be wasting money if you purchase this book, in my opinion, okay? As I mentioned, I will provide lecture PowerPoints. I'll record a voiceover for every PowerPoint, and then I will have all assignments and exams available on Schoology. So you want to make sure you're familiar with that platform, which I'm sure you are. I'll show you the organization of the course on Schoology here in just a minute, but if you've had me in class before or in my other class this semester, it's going to be organized in much the same fashion, where I'll have a series of weekly content folders, and everything for a given week is found in that folder. I find that organization pattern works very well. And if you don't think it does, let me know, because if students don't say it doesn't work, then I'm just going to assume it does. And I'm always wanting to get some feedback, especially in this online format. Exams obviously will be given on Schoology as well. There will be a separate folder, and I'll show you where that is in a moment. Obviously, computer access is very important because this is a online course. The instructional methods. So as I mentioned, the material will be broken down into weekly pods. Each pod will contain all the information for that given week. As you probably know, online courses, the learning is very much, the ball is in your court, right, for this. But if you want to volley the ball back to me, please do. I'm not going to schedule regular Zoom meetings, but I will gladly do that if students ask. In the past, I've found that they're poorly attended if they're not mandatory, so that makes me not want to schedule them regularly. However, I'll be more than happy to do so. Okay, we will definitely schedule one before an exam so we can do sort of a Q&A review when those times come up. Okay, let's scroll on down a little more. There is a couple learning outcomes which I'll talk about here in a moment, but specifically I'd like for you to learn how to create a resistance training program in this course, and then also how to then periodize that program, which we'll talk about those things as we go through the class. Okay, there's going to be 4 exams. They will not be cumulative from a perspective of everything is fair game, but there's going to be certain topics that we'll cover where you're going to have to recall information from previous lectures to kind of answer this. So you'll know what I'm talking about there when we get to it. Okay. Exams will be multiple choice, true, false, some short answer, short essay type of things, and they're each worth 100 points. Each week for lecture, we'll have a series of lecture study questions. There's 5 questions. Each one is worth 1 point, so 5 points. This is basically like an attendance grade, just to make sure that you're keeping up with the weekly content and getting those 5 points, okay? Again, if you had me last semester, it's a very similar pattern. Just don't get behind. Last semester, a lot of people got behind and they were scrambling at the end of the semester to catch up. And the reason I do this is to keep you engaged on a weekly basis, because you're going to learn more that way versus trying to cram it in before the test. And you're going to just stay kind of more engaged in the class overall. Okay. Each week we will also have a critical thinking assignment, which is worth 10 points. So this is going to be more sort of an open-ended question to allow you to use your brains to think about the topic, you know, in this particular field, strength and conditioning. There's a lot of gray area, right? There's not a definite right or wrong answer when it comes to something like writing a program for an athlete. There's a lot of ways you can do it, okay? So you're going to have to develop some critical thinking skills in this particular class, okay? When you're learning information like you do in exercise science, that course, you're looking at facts. In this class, when you're applying information, you're getting into more theory, right? And when you're doing theories, there's multiple theories. So again, there's more than one way to skin the cat, to use that analogy, right? Not that I would do that kind of thing, but that's just what popped in my head. My point is, you're going to have to critically think and figure out a way that makes sense and works logically in your head. And that's what I want you to get in the habit of doing with the critical thinking assignments, okay? Then there are a few sort of one-shot assignments that we'll have that are worth a few more points. These are worth 25 points a piece, but once we get into certain chapters, I'm going to have an assignment where you're going to have to observe some video of athletes performing different exercises and really pick out what they're doing incorrectly, and then offer some coaching points on how to correct the form or the technique of the given athlete. That's this assignment. The next one, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to pick a sport and then a position within that sport. So pick a specific athlete, type of athlete, and pick some exercises that are appropriate for the athlete. And I'm talking about resistance training exercises, okay? And then create a sort of a real basic program, resistance training program that the person could use, okay? In my opinion, that is a fundamental skill that any exercise science student should have when they graduate, is you should be able to write a basic resistance training program. And I want to give you some practice with that in this class, okay? And then lastly, the final assignment of the semester is what's called the periodization assignment, where we're going to talk about this concept called periodization, which is something we'll have a whole chapter on. But basically, it's changing the variables of a program to make sure that people continue to adapt. You can't do the same thing all the time and expect to still improve. You have to change what you're doing periodically, and that's what periodization is, okay? So we're going to take the program that we made here and periodize it for that final assignment. Here are the grading policy. So 400 points from exams, 70 points from study questions, 110 points from the critical thinking, 75 from our special assignments to give us a grand total of 655 points this semester. Grading scale is similar to what I use in all my courses, so no plus or minus, just a straight up letter grade. I will round grades. 0.5 or higher will be rounded to the nearest whole number. 0.4 or lower will not be. Attendance, this is an online course, so that doesn't necessarily apply. I will say, though, if you have something that comes up in a given week where you have to be out of communication for a little bit, you're sick, any family situation, just communicate with me. Like, when the situation arises, give me a heads up. Hey, Professor Jett, I have to go home this week because my family member's sick, okay? That happens. It's always better to communicate ahead of time versus weeks after it happened, right? I don't want you saying, hey, Professor Jett, 3 weeks ago when I missed class, I was sick then, right? That doesn't work. You need to communicate ahead of time if possible and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to work something out to allow you to make up that work, okay? I'll reserve the right to change the syllabus if something arises, but I'll give you written notification there, okay? And then finally, here is our schedule. So basically, we're going to cover roughly one chapter. Some weeks we'll cover 2 from the Essentials of Strength and Conditioning textbook. Each week we'll cover 1 to 2 chapters. So how I have this laid out is what the week is, what the topic is, what the reading is, and then what assignments are due at the end of the week. So much like my classes always are, the assignments are always due on Friday of the given week by 11:59 p.m. So you have until the very last minute of the day on Friday to submit that assignment, or those assignments as it were, because there's always 2, as you see here. So study questions and the critical thinking assignments are always going to be due on that Friday of the given week. And on Schoology, I have everything laid out according to the weeks as well, so that'll match up very nicely with what you see here on the syllabus. First exam is the 12th, so notice the exam will not cover the content covered that week. So for example, week 4, we're going to be doing chapter 5, but the exam is only on chapters 1 through 4, okay? Chapter 5 will roll over onto the following exam as you see here, okay? Want to make sure that you're not studying for the exam and learning the content at the same time. So our first special assignment is popping up on March the 19th, the week of the 15th through the 19th, sorry. So it's the exercise technique. Our resistance training assignment is the following week, and then we have our exam 3. And then we're going to finish with the periodization assignment and our final exam, which will just be a regular unit exam over chapters 18 through 21, okay? So that's pretty simple. I'll be giving you more details about those 3 big assignments as we get closer to them, of course. What I was going to do to finish out here was to pull up Schoology and just show you what it looks like in terms of the course organization. Really, everything you need is in the course materials folder. So if you open this, you'll notice that we see a series of weekly folders. So week 1 is where we are right now. We'll have the PowerPoint. I will have a voiceover recording posted in here as well. I just haven't done it yet. I'm going to do that on Sunday and post it. So by the time you read this, that'll probably already be in there. Okay. Then I'll also have the study questions and the critical thinking assignment. So everything you need for a given week is going to be in this folder, okay? Week 2, sorry. I haven't done any of the content yet, so it's empty, but I will have everything in there by Monday at 8 o'clock, the week it starts, okay? So week 2 begins when? Let's just look real quick. So by Monday, January the 25th, this week 2 content folder will be full of material, okay? I've never taught this course before, so I'm essentially creating all of this stuff as I go. So that's why there's no content sort of preloaded into the folders. All right, so I think that'll do it. That's your introduction. So I'll be recording the voiceover for the first PowerPoint, the first lecture here tomorrow, and posting that. And we'll get started with week 1 and jump into the world of strength and conditioning. If you have any questions, comments at all, just please email me and I will answer your questions. All right. Talk to you all soon. Bye.